On today's episode of the Greater Than the Game podcast, we talk about how Kobe Bryant became greater than the game of basketball itself. We talk about his life, his legacy, his work ethic, the Mamba mentality, as it's been called. And we talk about the many things that he did over his career, the countless amounts of numbers that he put up, everything in his career. We break down what made him greater than the game. This is Kobe Bryant, and this is the Greater Than the Game podcast. Earlier this year, we lost one of the greatest icons that the game of basketball has given us. Kobe Bryant was, in many words, a legend in his own right. He took his God-given talents and fostered a career that the world has never seen before and will probably never see again. With his Mamba mentality at his side, Kobe put up numbers that we've never seen before on an NBA court. 5-time NBA champion, 2-time final MVP, 18-time All-Star, and 33,643 career points scored. Those are just a few of the many accomplishments and milestones Kobe Bryant had. Off the court, though, Kobe was a family man, a humanitarian, and most importantly, he was a man of faith. Even though he had his struggles and controversies throughout his career, with all of the money and the fame coming in so soon, Kobe ended up growing and maturing to become the Mamba we all knew and loved. Before we go into the story of the man that is behind the Mamba, I want to share a little bit of personal feelings that I have towards the late Kobe Bryant. When I found out of the really sudden and tragic passing of Kobe and his daughter Gianna, I was sitting at the desk of the front desk of the dorm that I worked in. I was an RA, and at the time I was just working and scrolling through Twitter when I came across a couple tweets that led to a very early TMZ article that was saying that there was a fatal helicopter crash and Kobe was on it. I immediately and selfishly thought to myself, Kobe Bryant? You mean the guy that never passed the ball? This, of course, was a stereotypical view of Kobe, and even if you compare his scoring career to his rebounds and assists throughout his entire illustrious career, they aren't even close. He has way more points, and he scored way more than he did rebound and assists. I couldn't believe that this was the first thing that I thought of when I saw this news, but at this point, like many people, I didn't really fully grip what was going on. I mean, hell, it was on TMZ. I mean, this news outlet usually covers celebrities and how they're constantly seen kissing not their husband or complaining about something on Twitter or going vegan and going unvegan and then going vegan again. Eventually, we all know the story of the rest of that day, and it was generally the most shocking time to not only be a basketball fan, but also just a human in general. I think one thing that day did to all of us is we realized that our lives are fragile and short. And this is something that is usually overlooked. But if we didn't realize that at any time in our lives before, we did on that tragic day. We're going to go into the career of Kobe Bryant, the career that he fostered himself extensively. We're going to talk about his many accomplishments. We're going to talk about the man that was behind the Mamba and the statistics. Kobe made the absolute most of his life as early as he could. As we all know, at age 17, he made the decision to go straight to the NBA after high school. And of course was met with tons of criticism, as Kobe was just the 6th player to do this all time. He knew where his path was leading, so it was reported that he didn't visit any colleges. He knew what he was worth, and he was willing to take the risk. And as many times as Kobe did in his career, his risk paid off, as in the 1996 draft, he was drafted by the Charlotte Hornets, and then following shortly after that, he was traded to the Lakers. The Hornets just merely picked up Kobe so that way they could trade for assets from the Lakers in the draft. And Kobe would spend his entire 20-year career as a Los Angeles Laker. There are many moments that cemented his career as one of the greatest basketball players that ever walked the earth, but a lot of these were defined by the three-peat, when Kobe won 3 championship years in a row, in 2000, 2001, and 2002. With Coach Phil Jackson behind the Lakers, the duo of Kobe and Shaquille O'Neal was deadly. Much to the chagrin of Kobe Bryant, Shaq got most of the credit when it came to the repeat championships. At age 23, Bryant was already being compared to Michael Jordan as being the youngest player to win 3 NBA titles. After the three-peat, however, there was a couple years where Kobe had to overcome trials, as his 02-03 season ended with a loss in the Western Conference Final, and in the offseason was met with sexual assault charges that were eventually dismissed. Despite this distraction in the offseason, Kobe came back in the following season when the Lakers played the Trailblazers in the final game of the season. Bryant hit one of his first of many last-second buzzer beaters and sent the game to overtime, and then hit another buzzer beater again in the second overtime of that game to give the Lakers the Pacific Division win. However, despite making it to the finals that year, the Lakers were upset by the Detroit Pistons in the first round in 5 games. Following these 2 years, Bryant was offered a contract to go play for Los Angeles Clippers. After the previous day, Shaq was traded to the Miami Heat for Lamar Odom, Caron Butler, and Bryant Grant. This was a pivotal point in Kobe's career. Would he run away from his team for money, for a fresh opportunity to most likely run an offense himself at a young age? As we all know now, that's not the Mamba mentality that Kobe had begun to preach about through all his interviews. The Mamba mentality is not for those who are more inclined to take the short and narrow. Rather, it is for those who are willing to grind it out, put in the work, and make success happen. This is why the day after the Shaq trade happened, Kobe decided to extend his contract with the Lakers for another 7 years. He chose to grind it out and cement his career and legacy with the Lakers, using his Mamba mentality and the new faces and weapons he had at his disposal to go after a championship. The next season, the Lakers went 34-48 and failed to make the playoffs for the first time in over a decade. Kobe was criticized by many of his coaches and teammates for being uncoachable and was too hard-headed. Kobe knew what he needed to do to make his team a success, but was starting to lose his touch and couldn't find chemistry with his new teammates. In the 05-06 season, Kobe had the desire to change and lead the Lakers back to the powerhouse team that they were previously. Kobe knew he needed to transform outside of himself as being more than the kid. And he did that by averaging that season 35.4 points a game, which was a career high for him. You can see this transformation happening outside of the game as well, as at the All-Star game that year, Kobe and Shaq were seen hugging and shaking hands before the game. This signified a new level of respect in Kobe and Shaq's relationship that wasn't there previously. When Kobe and Shaq were on the Lakers together, Kobe was seen as more of a guy that would grind it out and didn't party a whole lot, while Shaq was more of the type of guy that would rather go out, have fun, and eat a good meal rather than stay in the gym and work on himself, work on the game. Kobe finally was growing up and realized that these relationships got him to where he was today. And not only was he finally growing up, he was becoming a more mature basketball player and a better man for it. On January 22nd, 2006, this was the day that Kobe Bryant decided to score 81 points in a game against the Toronto Raptors and broke not only the franchise record for most points in a game, but taking the second highest scoring game in NBA history, right behind Will Chamberlain's 100-point game in '62. What was crazy about this game was Kobe wasn't getting fed the ball. He was creating his own shots, and this was, in essence, what made Kobe Bryant so unique as a player. He made his own scoring chances and showed why all of his hours spent practicing, dribbling, doing the same repetitions over and over and over until you lost your damn mind was so effective. Kobe knew what was in his arsenal, and he knew how he could score in almost any situation, and this set him apart from most players in NBA history. Although he didn't take the league MVP that year, he did take the Lakers back to the playoff and even put up a 3-1 series lead over the Phoenix Suns as their opponents in the first round. They were so close to beating the Suns. In fact, 6 seconds away. That was how close they were. And as Kobe averaged 27 points a game in that series, he forced the Suns to make a game-winning shot in Game 6 of the series to keep it alive. The Lakers fell apart in Game 7 and were eliminated in the playoffs by hot Phoenix Suns. And Kobe was criticized in Game 7 for only taking 3 shots in the second half. The 06-07 season was the first that Kobe changed his number from 8 to 24. And for me, this was the number that I saw Kobe play for the entirety of my basketball fandom. Kobe again had another career high, averaging 31.6 points scored, and had a 3-game streak towards the end of the season where he scored 50-plus points against the Blazers, dropping 65 points, dropping another 50 points on the Timberwolves, and then finally hitting another 65-point game against the Grizzlies. The next day, Bryant decided to extend the streak to 4 games by dropping another 50 points on the New Orleans OKC Hornets. And despite all of this, and despite being compared yet again to names like Chamberlain and MJ, the Lakers that year were eliminated first round in the 2007 playoffs against the Phoenix Suns. After this hard loss, Kobe started to crack a little bit. He had publicly stated that unless his demands were made for change, he wanted out and requested a trade. And hours after that, he was talked back into the team by talking to his coach, Phil Jackson, the same one that took him to his 3-peat championships in 2000, 2001, and 2002. The following season, Kobe returned to the Lakers, and on Christmas Eve, December 23rd, Kobe became the youngest player to reach 20,000 career points when he was just 29 years old and 122 days old. Since then, this record has been beaten by LeBron James. And after another season, which marked a finger injury that Bryant had elected not to fix, the Lakers went back to the playoffs and eventually the finals after beating Denver, Utah, and the San Antonio Spurs in the Western Conference Final. This all led to a match with the Boston Celtics, but this led to losing in 6 games and marking the first time Kobe went to the finals without Shaquille O'Neal, a loss. In the 2008-2009 season, Kobe was on a mission: get back to the NBA Finals and win his first championship without Shaq, and further cement his legacy as one of the greatest basketball players of all time. He started off hot and led the Lakers to a 17-2 winning record, which was the highest number of wins in franchise history at the start of the season. Kobe had started to total up more records, including scoring a 61-point game in Madison Square Garden, the most amount of points that was scored there, and was selected in his 11th consecutive All-Star game as a starter. And for that season and the first time in his career, he played all 82 games. He took the Lakers back to the playoffs in 2009. And after beating the Utah Jazz in 5 games, the Rockets in 7 games, and the Nuggets in 6 games, was set to go to their second straight finals against the Orlando Magic. After 5 games, Kobe beat the Magic with the Lakers and finally won his 4th championship, and the first one without Shaq. This finally proved that he still had the hard work and determination to win. He also won his first Finals MVP and was averaging 32.4 points the whole series, and was the first to do so since Michael Jordan. In the 2009-2010 season, Kobe lost some more playing time after injuries kept him out from playing a couple games. Despite all this, Kobe still managed to become the youngest player to reach 25,000 career points, and the following day surpassed Laker legend Jerry West as the all-time leading scorer in Lakers history. Kobe was cementing his legacy now as a Hall of Famer and decided to extend his contract with the Lakers for 3 more years on April 10, 2010. Bryant finished the season, however, missing 5 games to injury and missed 9 games total that season. The Lakers went back to the playoffs again, and that season sat at the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. And after knocking off the OKC Thunder, sweeping the Jazz, and beating the Phoenix Suns in 6 games in the Western Conference Final, where he averaged 13 assists in the series for the first time in his career, and matched Laker legend Magic Johnson in assists in a playoff series. After all that, the Lakers advanced to the finals for the 3rd year in a row and met the same team that beat them in 2008, the Boston Celtics. This rematch took all 7 games to decide a winner, and after Kobe scored 10 of his 23 points in the 4th quarter of Game 7, Kobe and the Lakers managed to overcome a 13-point deficit and beat the Celtics for the NBA championship. Kobe had just won his 5th NBA championship and was also awarded his 2nd NBA Finals MVP. This also marked the first time that the Lakers had ever beat the Celtics in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. And Kobe said that this was his favorite championship to win. But he wasn't done yet. Bryant had the desire to win 6 NBA championships to tie legendary Michael Jordan's 6 NBA championship wins. In the 2010-2011 season, Kobe broke more records and became the youngest player to score 27,000 points. Yes, 27,000 points on February 1st of 2011. Despite this and some controversy at the end of the season, the Lakers went back to the playoffs, but were swept out of the second round by the Dallas Mavericks. The 2011-2012 season for Kobe was somewhat forgettable, and even though he outscored his preseason projections and managed to get the Lakers back to the playoff, he played only 58 games due to being out for various injuries. And the Lakers were defeated by then Kevin Durant and the Oklahoma City Thunder in the second round of the playoffs. The next season, the Lakers brought two key pieces to refresh Kobe's offense. Center Dwight Howard and point guard Steve Nash, who Kobe knew all too well of in the playoffs anytime he faced the Phoenix Suns. Despite this, the Lakers started off the season just 1-4, which was terrible. It was just the fourth time in franchise history that they had started off a season that bad. This led to the fire and eventually hire of new head coach Mike D'Antoni. After this, Bryant had yet another great season as he, at one point, had a 10-game streak where he scored 30-plus points in a game and held the longest streak over a player of the age of 34 and was leading the league in scoring through most of its 42 games. Despite this, the Lakers were still fighting to be the last team in the playoffs. Due to other injuries, Kobe was getting overplayed. He was basically playing all 48 minutes of a game. And because of this, on April 10th, 2013, Bryant became the first ever NBA player in history to get 47 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 blocks, and 3 steals in a game. 2 days later, however, he suffered a season-ending ACL injury against the Golden State Warriors. The Lakers didn't make it to the playoffs that year. Or the Makers... 2 days later, he suffered a torn ACL against the Golden State Warriors and ended his season. The Lakers did make it into the playoffs, but ended up getting eliminated in the first round by the San Antonio Spurs. At the beginning of the 2013-2014 season, Bryant signed a 2-year extension deal with the Lakers. And after missing 19 games of that season, he returned for another 6 games before suffering another season-ending injury. After being sidelined for 6 weeks, Kobe was still, however, selected to be in the 2014 All-Star game, but was obviously unable to play due to his injury. He was rehabbing for pretty much the entire year, but there was still hope that maybe he could come back. But on March 12th, Kobe was ruled out due to injury for the rest of the 2014 season to rehab his knee. And the Lakers missed the playoffs for the first time since 2005 and finished 27-55. Kobe finally came back for the 2014-2015 season, which was his 19th season with the Lakers. On December 14th of that season, Kobe passed Michael Jordan and took his place as third on the NBA all-time scorers list. He was doing pretty well, but then sat out for 3 games in a row after one of the worst performances in his career due to some knee soreness. He was getting overplayed, and his age and his miles on the court were finally catching up to him. As January 21st of 2015, he suffered a rotator cuff injury and underwent, yet again, season-ending surgery. After the Lakers failed to make the playoffs in 2015, the 2015-2016 season was set to be the last one on Kobe's contract. And after missing some preseason exhibition games due to calf injury, Bryant decided that he was ready to retire at the end of the 15-16 season. Kobe was able to make opening day and played the first game of his 20th and final season as a Laker, which was the most in Laker history. That season, he put up average numbers and was still second on the team in minutes and voted overall first into the All-Star game that year after receiving 1.9 million votes. An interesting thing about this season spoke about Kobe's character. He didn't want all the recognition. He didn't want visiting teams to even make a big deal out of his retirement, but he came to play for the last time that season. He stated that he was playing like crap and that, if anything, fans should be booing him. And now, while this was a cover, this was just Kobe. He just wanted his numbers from his long and illustrious career speak for all the hard work and perseverance he had done, and just wanted to play one last season and one last game for the one team that he played his whole career with. On April 13th, 2016, the final game of the season and Kobe Bryant's final career came. He played his last game the only way he knew how, by leaving everything on the court. He scored a season high of 60 points against the Jazz and outscored the entire Jazz team 23-21 in the fourth quarter. He became the oldest player to drop 60 points in the NBA at 37 years old. This long NBA career was not the only way Kobe made an impact in the world he lived in, however. As we know, he was a father, a philanthropist, and most importantly, he was a Christian. Speaking from personal opinion, Kobe didn't really open up a lot about his Roman Catholic roots. But he was raised in the Catholic Church, he was married in the Catholic Church, and he had 3 daughters raised up in the church as well. Kobe mirrors several Christian values, such as perseverance, by pushing through to the end of his career and never giving up when things were getting rough for him. He was humble. He wished not to be praised for the historic numbers that he was putting up, but rather have people hate him. He didn't want the praise. He didn't want the hype. He just wanted to be recognized. And love. Not only for his love of the game of basketball, but also making it greater than he left it. When he came into the league, he came to score points, he came to win championships, and he came to push the game forward more than it ever had before. Kobe was a pretty active parishioner at this church, whether you knew it or not. A lot of the priests had reported that Kobe would come in for mass intentionally late and would sit in the very back and would try to conceal as much as he could his presence because he didn't want to distract people from mass, and would actually end up leaving early to also, again, avoid distraction. And I think this models perfectly what the Mamba mentality was when Kobe was growing as a player. Kobe wasn't afraid to get up early before the rest of the world and do the hard, gritty, but necessary work that sometimes we have to do in our lives. He valued every repetition, every drill that he put himself through. And whether it was for the game of basketball, whether it was for business, or developing his basketball academy to advance women's basketball, Kobe knew what was at stake by being the first one up every morning and knew that he had truly to be the Mamba in order to be a